On today's show, Cole Hutson was huge in Boston University's big win in the Beanpot, and the Capitals' dressing rooms at Cap One Arena leave a bit to be desired.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, I want to thank all of you for making this your first listen of the day. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about Capitals prospect Cole Hutson and how he was instrumental in Boston University's big win over Boston College at the Beanpot tournament. I'll talk about that. A little bit later, it's a get to know Cole Hutson, a player, a prospect in the Capitals organization. Say you are just familiar with the players on the big team. This is an excellent opportunity to get to know Cole Hutson and a player profile. And then in the final segment, I'll talk about the Capitals dressing rooms at Cap One Arena, or more specifically, the visiting dressing rooms, and how they are ranked one of the worst in all of the NHL. But just to get it going here, it was an exciting tournament. At the Beanpot tournament, it was Boston College versus Boston University. As we know, Ryan Leonard playing for Boston College. Cole Hutson, huge for Boston University. It's a win-win. Some great hockey to be had. And as I know, both universities really bring their A game. But Boston University, the Terriers, picking up a big win in that game. And Capitals defenseman Cole Hutson was instrumental in the team's success. So that's where we are going to start here in the latest happenings in the NCAA. And today, I want to shine a spotlight on Cole Hutson, an incredible performance of the Boston University Terriers in the Beanpot Championship. And this game was on ESPN Plus. Quite a game. And, there is a bit of a hunger for hockey, being that the Capitals are on the Four Nations face-off leave, if you will, here. Well, it's going on. The Capitals, well, they're not involved in the Four Nations face-off. So if you do have a hunger for hockey, that definitely helped satiate you. And quite a game. And, I know it's only college hockey, but I mean, if they were wearing blank jerseys and you had no context about if it was an NHL game or an NCAA game, other than stature size. I guess the NHL guys are bigger. Incredible energy, incredible excitement. So if you do have a hunger, sometimes check out those NCAA games. In particular, I'm going to go ahead and say Boston University and Boston College. That is some fun hockey to watch. But the Beanpot Championship highlights last night. The Terriers, ranked number 9, pulled off a stunning 4-1 victory over the top-ranked Boston College Eagles. And I think that Boston College was heavily favored to win that game, but BU picked up the dub. And guess who played a crucial role in that win? None other than 18-year-old Caps prospect defenseman Cole Hutson. Huge. Oftentimes I talk about Crystal, I talk about Leonard, and to be fair here, Cole Hutson is a bit further out, but a dynamic defender, ultimately better offensively than he is defensively, and I'll get more into depth about him in the next segment, but really stood out. He lit up the ice by scoring the game-winning goal early in the second period, giving BU their record-breaking 32nd Beanpot title. Quite stunning what they were able to assemble on the ice, playing where the Bruins play there. Capacity, and Boston University fans were really riled up. Again, watching the game, they bring the energy in a lot of ways more than you even see in the NHL. I mean, those college fans are fully vested in their team's success. But talking about Cole Hutson, as he is the person that I'm going to talk about in this segment and how he was key in BU's win, or one of the key pieces, shall we say, showcased his talent by finding a seam in Boston College's defense and blasting a powerful wrist shot that's a face-off circle past goaltender Jacob Fowler. Quite something, a powerful wrist shot that just, it was a no doubt about it. And to be clear here, Jacob Fowler is one heck of a netminder. And so it was a skilled shot that was able to make it past him. Now, this goal came right after teammate Brandon Svoboda had tied the game, demonstrating the perfect teamwork that's essential in high-pressure situations. And that's what I like about these games, is there's a lot at stake. This Beanpot tournament is something that's a big deal. So you are playing on the big stage as far as the big stage is concerned for the NCAA. And I think if you can deliver in a high-stress situation, then I think that speaks volumes about you as a player and potentially what you're going to be able to accomplish when you really make it to the big stage in the NHL. Now, not only did Hutson steal the spotlight with a game winner, but he also walked away from the tournament as the MVP. Let's hear it for Cole Hutson. One heck of a performance. He racked up an impressive 5 points over just 2 games, 3 goals, and 2 assists. Again, if you are not hyped about the Capitals' future, then I don't know if you ever will be. Again, I talk about Crystal, I talk about Leonard, I talk about these different players. I mean, even Ilya Protas. It's just what the Capitals have in the wings is quite stunning. It's clear that since returning from the World Juniors, where he made headlines as the first defenseman to lead the tournament in scoring, he has been on fire. That is for sure. In fact, over his last 10 NCAA games, he's tallied an astounding 14 points. Again, if you do have ESPN Plus, I know sometimes you have to search for them. They're not always on ESPN Plus. I think it has more to do with the nature of the Beanpot tournament and the significance. Check them out. Or if you can't watch the game, the highlights are always available on YouTube. It was some fun hockey to watch. But a nod to the goaltending in this game as well. We also give a shout out to Terriers goaltender Mikhail Yurgorov, who also was awarded the Eberle Award for having the best save percentage in the tournament. So quite an outing for 2 Boston teams there, really bringing their A game. But as far as Mikhail is concerned, he made an incredible 69 saves out of 71 shots across 2 games, including 43 in the championship showdown. So quite stunning. But as we know about Cole Hutson, there is a family history of doing great things in hockey. Cole's older brother, Lane Hutson, should sound rather familiar, from the Capitals playing the Montreal Canadiens, and fellow BU alum Macklin Celebrini, currently with the San Jose Sharks. Both were in attendance to cheer him on. So his brother, Lane Hutson, and fellow BU alum Macklin Celebrini were in attendance to cheer on the big team, BU. Macklin Celebrini, as we know, is going to be a really big piece in the NHL. Already is kind of, I guess, just kind of like Connor Bedard. I think these guys are finding their way a little bit, but at some point, this young talent is really going to take center stage. As I think a lot of the young talent that's kind of coming up through the NHL right now is going to be some of the best that we have seen in the NHL in quite some time. And it must have been a special moment when Cole was presented his MVP trophy to them after the game. So looking ahead, the win not only marked BU's first victory over BC this season after losing their previous matchups 8-2 collectively, but it's also set the stage for potential future encounters as both teams aim for high seeds in the Hockey East tournament and beyond. And make no mistake about it, these players are working on their resume for the future. Cole Hutson, Capitals prospect. If you can't tell, I'm super hyped about seeing him in a Capitals jersey someday. A defender with a real apparent offensive flair. I'll talk about in the next segment that actually he could work on his defensive game a bit, but all things considered, Cole Hutson, absolutely huge. So keep an eye on Cole Hutson and the Terriers as they continue with their season. Now, with performances like this, there's sure to be a team to watch. Again, I know, but everyone's life is busy, right? The Capitals play 3-4 times a week. But when there's breaks like this and you get an opportunity to check out some of the premier talent, especially I'm talking Leonard, Hutson, these kind of guys that are killing it, do yourself a favor and do that, especially since we have a bit of a break in the NHL action here. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll do a deep dive on Cole Hutson, do a player profile, a review, where he got his start, what he's doing right now, and what to expect from him in the mid to long term. I'll discuss straight ahead. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's calorie smart, Protein Plus, or Keto Plus. Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. And listen, life is busy. I know it. I have a family, I have kids, and sometimes you don't have the time to prepare the meal that you should. That is where Factor really ties in. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnNHL50 off at factormeals.com. It's Locked On 50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And of course, thank you all for making this your first listen of the day. In this next segment here, we're going to do a player profile of Cole Hutson. In the first segment, I spoke about him killing it in the Beanpot tournament, playing against Boston College. It was exciting. Ryan Leonard versus Cole Hutson, win-win. And it ultimately was that. Some exciting hockey to watch. But let's dig into Cole Hutson and ultimately what kind of player did the Capitals get at the draft, and what can we expect in the future? Just to generalize what I'm going to say, like I said in the first segment, is he does have a lot of talent. But what we've seen thus far, even though he's a defender, is he has more of an offensive flair than a defensive flair, even though he is a blue liner. So let's do that. This young offensive defenseman is creating quite a buzz among Capitals fans, and it's easy to see why. Hutson is renowned for his elite creativity and impressive handling skills. And that was apparent even watching the game. He really stands out in one-on-one situations at the blue line, where his strong lateral movement and clever hesitation techniques allow him to weave past defenders with ease. He does move very well. You can often find him driving towards the face-off circle, faking a shot, and even delivering those pinpoint cross-ice passes that set up his teammates for success. Quite an offensive acumen for a guy, like I say, that is a blue liner. But like with all of this other young talent, there is room for improvement. It's important to note that Hutson has room for improvement, especially when it comes to his defensive play. But a young guy, I'm going to say 2 or 3 seasons out from making the big team. But, you know, that's what I'm talking about. At some point, if he is a bit of a slower ascension, say he has to work his way up through Hershey, so be it. Quite stunning. Now, while his offensive talent is clearly evident, he does face challenges in his own zone, where things like gap control and defensive scanning can be inconsistent. But if we want to rewind the tape a little bit and just kind of get to know him from his earliest days, as of November 2023, Hutson has made a name for himself as a highly debated prospect. He showcases advanced attributes like anticipation and processing speed, which are crucial in today's fast-paced game. If you know, that is the big thing that's apparent. Like I talked about in the previous segment, the Beanpot tournament in particular, fast-paced. Like I talked about, unless you were paying attention to their jerseys or how big the guys are, It is. It's fast-paced, much quicker pace than it was, say, let's say 10 years ago. Now, despite his dynamic puck-carrying ability and fluid skating, many scouts, this is from his scouting point, have pointed out the need for more consistency in refinement in his defensive game. And I think that is still true, even though I did notice an improvement. So we fast forward to the spring of 2024, and while he might not have entirely lived up to early season expectations, we've seen his skating ability and offensive decision-making really shine through. So what did I talk about off the first segment there? That there were some things that he needed to work on. His decision-making is one of the things that he's honed and drilled down on and paying dividends. Now, after a period of overconfidence that led to some risky situations, he's toned down his style and adapted a more straightforward approach. Not trying to be too fancy, just going for the easy play. Now, while this has helped his game, concerns about his defensive reliability, including positioning and awareness, are still on the table. Now, if we even want to fast forward even a bit further to the summer of 2024, the Caps picked him in the second round of the NHL draft, landing at 43rd overall. Now, this was a huge moment for Hutson and the organization as they recognized his potential to be a game-changing player in the future. And if you want any proof of it, like I say, watch the highlights in the last game, but don't just base it on that game alone. He's put up some truly great numbers this season, and it's not just even at the college level. It's on international success. By December of 2024, he had the honor of joining Team USA for World Junior Championship, where he was expected to take a leading role. And I'm going to be honest with you, he did not disappoint. Now, fast forward even a bit more to February, he has emerged as the top scorer for Team USA, racking up an incredible 11 points in just 7 games, making him the first defenseman to reach that milestone. And if that wasn't good enough, not only that, he also shined at Boston University, ranking second in scoring among all players with 26 points in 24 games, far surpassing the next closest defenseman by a remarkable 11 points. So quite stunning what he has been able to amass in his young career. And that's what I'm talking about. There's lines you could draw to Leonard. It's just this upper echelon talent is really noticeable than some of the talent that's a bit further down, and ultimately why they were drafted and selected where they were. But it is apparent that he does have a high skill set. Now, Cole Hutson is definitely a name to watch. He has that high-end offensive skill and the potential for improvement on the defensive front. So still something that I think could be drilled down on if he wants to be a really great NHL defender. His offense, he has it covered for sure. He could become a real asset for the Capitals in seasons to come. Like I talked about, I don't think it's going to be next season. I think we're talking, probably if I was going to guesstimate 2 to 3 seasons away from joining the team or the organization to some extent. It might be in Hershey, but if what we have seen thus far is any indicator, quite the talent. Cole Hutson, along with Crystal and Ryan Leonard, go ahead and circle those names in your mind. And if you have the time, check out their games when they're playing. Definitely next level talent and the future wave of this Capitals team. All right, so coming up here after the break, we will talk about the visiting dressing rooms at Capital One Arena. And I know that they're going to make, big changes there. There's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of construction to make Cap One Arena a lot better. But one thing is glaringly apparent. I'll discuss straight ahead. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they've packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to snack. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, The in-shell options are a classic favorite, and do yourself a favor. We all need to eat better. Sometimes it's easy to grab for a candy bar or a snack or potato chips. Do yourself a favor and get into trying some wonderful pistachios. I think you're going to find them, well, quite wonderful. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. So in this segment, we're going to talk about an area of improvement as the Capitals' visiting dressing rooms were voted one of the worst in all of the NHL. Only Carolina and Calgary have worse dressing rooms. And you might be thinking to yourself, who cares? It's the visiting dressing rooms. It's all about image. And I know that Ted Leonsis cares about image. I know that he has a lot of money to spend. And I also know that Cap One Arena is going under a pretty major facelift. So I have not looked at the plans to find, but I would imagine that the visiting dressing rooms will be something that needs to be addressed. Actually, one player referred to the visiting dressing room showers as a bit of like a prison scene, if you will. So definitely not the kind of reputation that you want to have as an organization. So we're going to talk about Cap One Arena and talking about those visiting dressing rooms in a recent anonymous poll conducted by The Athletic. A surprising number of players ranked the Caps locker room facilities as the third worst for opposing teams. One player didn't hold back, saying, quote, "By far the worst. It's the smallest room ever and 1,000,000 degrees in there. I hate playing there," unquote. Despite it is your competition, I don't think that is the reputation that I think that you want to have about your facilities in general. Now, this isn't the first time. You think it's something that the Capitals would have addressed. I don't think they're too strapped as far as finances are concerned, but this isn't the first time. Back in 2019, ESPN poll by Emily Kaplan revealed that 42% of players felt that Washington had the worst road locker rooms in all of the NHL. One player in particular even went as far as to compare the showers to a prison setup, saying, quote, "They're like a prison shower. There's a pole in the middle and then just spews that comes out of that one pole," unquote. That's disgusting. I think that there's probably better showers in high school locker rooms. Definitely something that if it's not on the front burner, maybe not the front burner. I don't know if it's front burner material, but definitely take it off the rear burner. Let's prioritize it a little bit here. So talk about an unwelcoming experience for the road team. And, it's all about, I know that with the Capitals organization, they like to leave the reputation for excellence, but this is leaving a bit to be desired. In December, Monumental Sports and Entertainment announced their plans for renovations, and phase 2 will focus on upgrading those locker rooms. So that's the good news. If everything goes according to plan, construction is set to start in the summer after the Caps and Wizards season wraps up with the regular season. So there's hope on the horizon for a better experience. Interestingly, the only venues ranked lower were the Carolina's Lenovo Center and Calgary's Scotiabank Saddledome. And let's be honest here. Looking at it here, Calgary's arena has had the distinction of being the second oldest in the NHL, while Lenovo Center is tied for the 12th newest arena, having opened in 1999. So I think that, Calgary gets a bit of a pass as they are playing in an older facility, and it just needs an upgrade, and they have that all taken care of anyway. Players voice their frustrations, not just about the Caps facilities, but also about the cramped conditions in Carolina, which led to adequate space for warm-ups, as evidenced by Boston Bruins defenseman Charlie McAvoy, who shared a video of the Hurricanes locker room. It was disgusting. So, positive feedback for the Capitals, despite these criticisms regarding the visiting locker rooms. It's worth noting that the Capitals received some positive feedback in the poll. For instance, Washington wasn't mentioned among the 16 teams that players preferred to avoid in trade situations. Plus, Capitals head coach Spencer Carbery was voted the 11th most popular coach players would like to play for. So there's that. So, I guess don't get too comfortable if you are coming to Cap One and you are the visiting team, and that's okay, I guess, at the end of the day. I think it's all about reputation. And I don't think the Capitals or Ted Leonsis wants to have the reputation of not being welcoming to visiting teams. I just don't think that's the case. And according to everything that I've read from different articles out there, that they are, it is going to be a part of one of the next phases of construction that will take place next summer. So definitely kind of a black eye to an extent. I don't think, if I'm going to generalize Cap One in general, it's a pretty good facility, but definitely something I think they want to clean up to have a better reputation so that when the players do come here, they have a comfortable place to set up and clean up after the games. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.